a production of ChristianSchon.com.
I have to be somewhere in about an hour. Is that we have enough time?
Yes, an hour is okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Just making sure. I mean, I don't have to start walking until an hour.
Okay.
So.
Yes, man, an hour is okay.
Okay, cool. So is it starting now?
Yes,
okay, right. Okay, oh, it's recording. Okay,
yes.
Just didn't know.
I have already started. So.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
All
better
right.
to start it than forgot it. So.
Right. Cool.
So today we're sitting with Joe Eagan.
Yes.
The stand-up comedian and artist.
Yeah, you could
I
say.
think.
Yeah.
And we say welcome to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We must ask you from where are you coming from?
I'm Canadian, but I've been living in Sweden since 2000. So, it's been about 14 years.
Why Sweden?
Well, I was an exchange student in Umeå in the north of Sweden in 97, 98. And I could only choose Wales or Umeå, nowhere else in the world. So I chose Umeå. So I'd been living in England before, and I'd been to Wales, and not very exciting. Umeå was nice. Yeah.
Try something new.
Yeah.
But how do you find Sweden?
I like it. I think.
Was somebody told you about it? Or?
No, I chose Umeå because I could only choose there or Wales, so that's why I first came to Sweden as an exchange student in university. And then in 2000, I found a consulting job randomly after I'd got my business degree with a company in Malmö here. So I came here for the job in 2000, and that was like a 2-year contract, and then just been freelance since then, and then slowly got into stand-up around 2007. So yeah, never know where you end up or what you end up doing.
How you get into the stand-up?
How I got started with stand-up comedy. Yeah, I was in 2006. A friend of mine, I told them about this book I was writing. Just a book where I wrote funny ideas down since 1991. In this book, when I was 15, I got this book, just a notebook. I thought, oh, maybe one day I'll sell these ideas to advertising agencies so they can make them funny commercials out of them. And that's not really how the advertising industry works. So I told my friend about this book, and they were like, well, why don't you, share these ideas with the world? Do something with them. Why don't you try stand-up? I was like, oh, right, okay. So I found this course for beginners in Stockholm that was like a week long, and I went to do the course in January 2007. I took the course, and I liked it, and then contacted a few clubs in Malmö that I knew of, and got 3 minutes on stage in March 2007 was the first time. And then, just slowly got into it. And one thing in 2008 which made a big difference was a friend of mine sent me a video of an American comic who uses pictures and at the same time, and also has some kind of Spanish guitar in the background and a very deep, soothing voice. And I really liked this, and I thought, this is really very stable form of stand-up to use at company parties, because that's really what I want to be the best at. Is company parties is a lot of fun, because most comics don't like company parties because everyone's drunk and they're there for free because the boss has an open bar, and their attention span is like 0 because they don't care. So if you have a big screen with pictures, this is really nice. So this sort of concept, I started drawing my own jokes and putting the words to them, and then finding pictures of people working at the company, and I do a big sort of customized thing at the end. It's really nice. So
even if they are drunk, they need to.
They see a boss of the
looking at your show.
Big boss of the picture. Yeah, exactly. It's more personal. So I'm not that well known in Sweden, like things like that, but
a normal stand-up, it's a little more.
Yeah, it's stand-up. Like the words are there.
Then little more.
There's some pictures at the same time, and some Spanish guitar in the background. I'm not playing. It's just this sound file.
That's a little more than a normal stand-up.
Yeah.
Normal stand-up is only a guy
with a mic. Yeah. Yeah.
Standing tall.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So I really wanted to get into that, and I like organizing things too. So I like, I'm organizing 7 clubs a month now in Sweden, Copenhagen, and I have.
Yes, you have starting up something.
Yeah. It's called internationalcomedians.com. And so it just really randomly I started getting to know a lot of comics in Belgium and Holland, even though I live in Sweden, in around 2011, 2012, and started this booking agency. And so it also runs 5 clubs in Belgium and Holland each month. Like a little.
How many are you in this international?
Well, it's just I run it, but I
I mean, how many?
but I have comics on my site. There's about 40 or so.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's bad.
But most of them are in Belgium and Holland, Germany, a few in Scandinavia, Denmark. I've gotten to know a lot of the Danish comics because Malmö is so close to Copenhagen. So I'm not really in the Stockholm scene at all in any way. But I think a lot of sort of comics know of me that I run gigs and that I do the PowerPoint show. But I'm not like on Nora Brun and stuff doing, or Parlamentet or whatever the hell.
No, you are much bigger. You go for Europe, you not go for Stockholm.
No, Sweden's saturated. There's too many comedians. There's no money in it. No, there's money at company parties. It's good.
Hello. I've always loved comedy, always.
Red is the color of passion.
We could very well be the food supply for the aliens. And the aliens are going to go, what do you want to do tonight? Chinese? No, I had Chinese last night.
We calculated if you took every smoker and laid them head to toe around the world, 67% of them are going to drown.
It's my second time, so I really love it. It's very, very nice. The guy from San Francisco was perfect.
We're having a great night tonight. We are all Dutch, the 3 of us. It was his idea actually to come here, but we just thanked him.
You're together, you're married, you live in Belgium? Almost. You almost live in Belgium.
Stop watching Fox News!
Why? You want to hear more jokes? Are there any other Greeks here? You can afford this?
The night before I was in Stockholm, I was in Helsinki. A week ago I was in Sofia. I don't think she noticed.
Keep touching each other because that's very important in a cold world.
Okay.
Are you excited? You have your arms double folded. Are you excited?
There will never be another war in Europe. You know why? Too much paperwork involved.
I think it can be quite interesting, right?
It is. I mean,
how do you get an idea to make a Europe international?
I think I saw a market because as I was organizing shows in Belgium and Holland, and I know a lot of people who try and do shows in English outside of the UK. I mean, a lot of them are British promoters, and their idea of what a good comedy show is having 2 British comedians, and that's it. And then you have a very high risk of it being a bad show, because if one of them does poorly, has a bad night, then everyone's like, what the hell was that? That's half the show was terrible. And since they're both British, you also have the high risk of them talking too fast, too thick accent, or their references are too British, or all the above. So a lot of promoters who try and do shows in English outside of the UK, they fail terribly because they don't understand that there's actually comedians outside the UK who know how to perform for international audiences. If you have people from Romania, Russia, Greece at a show in Brussels with 200 people from everywhere, you can't have some British guy speaking 1,000 miles a minute saying he was on the tube smoking a fag. what does that mean for them? They're like, you were on the subway having a cigarette? That's what you should say. So it's very interesting with this British sort of mentality of, they think, I'm not anti-British, of course I have British comics on my shows, but my shows is usually 4 or 5 comics, including the host, maybe one or two new ones coming up, and so it's a very mix. If one sucks, then everyone's like, well, it's all right.
It's a little when you're sitting reading on the internet. Sometimes you find page you don't, it's in English, but you don't understand the shit.
Yeah.
Because they're using a language that you don't know. So
Oh, a lot of slang, yeah, British slang, yeah. But, yeah.
It's difficult to, because I think you have been in Denmark and Sweden and do stand-up.
Yeah.
Is it a big difference between Denmark and Sweden?
Yeah, I think Sweden, Sweden is more like, I think, mainstream, like the comics who are at the top, you get a feeling sometimes that they've all read the same book, and they've all grown up with the same sort of styles, you know, Slang Danny Brunnen and all that kind of stuff, and Nora Brun and whatever. But then you have also in Sweden some interesting young comics, sort of, I like the Oslipet gang from the Möllevångstorget area in Malmö. A lot of unique styles, very different kinds of ways of presenting jokes. It's fascinating. I've never seen anything like it. And in Denmark, you get a lot of comics, women and men, doing really weird styles that are completely a breath of fresh air to all the British and American styles that are just so passé and boring in a way.
And can you find a difference between Sweden
and Denmark?
Yes, or Malmö?
Yeah. I think the Danes, they really like the kind of weird styles that it's really skruvad, like it's twisted. Sweden, I think the Swedes, they like the likable Johan Glans kind of, you know, but he's really good technically and everything. And then, but I mean, there's a guy in Denmark. He has a 20-minute bit about picking a tuna fish can off of a supermarket shelf, and it's you love it. You're just listening to every word. And how can someone make that interesting unless it was really unique and different? And this is it's good. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to look at different countries.
Yeah.
Is it big difference when you go to Germany or?
Yeah, Germany they're really it's like the football. It's really really technical. Like every millisecond is rehearsed and you know, perfect. And I can tell a lot of them have pretty mediocre material, but since they use their hands so well and their body language, it's just it feels like it's really good, even though the material is kind of like.
They are military.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Little.
But I mean, even that, like Lund Festival last year, I had a show, and the headliner was a German guy, and they loved him so much that now he's back this year doing his own solo show. So you have, like you said before, people coming from abroad can really make a good impression in Sweden because it's something fresh. You look at Al Pitcher, he's a New Zealander. Most people see him, especially comics, as the best comic in Sweden, because I think that he when he started in Sweden, he just raised the bar to another level, and all the top Swedish comics were like, oh, I didn't know that it could be this good, damn. I better get my act together instead of doing my same 25 minutes for the last 20 years, which a lot of them do.
But I mean, that's maybe easier when you're not born in the country and
exactly
coming from outside.
I think I get off easy in the shows. When I do a show in Sweden, in Swedish or in English, a lot of my material is about observations I've made about the language or culture or Swedish people that Swedes haven't really thought of before. So it's kind of like, it gets a really good laugh, but it's...
Are you using this when you go into Germany or?
No, they couldn't relate to...
I mean, you pick up from the country also because you're not from Germany. I mean, when you go over have
right.
performance, going around in the city and picking up things like that and behavior.
Yeah, I think there's a few places like in Estonia I go to a lot because it's just been like that. I go there every year and do a tour, and it's really fun. So I've actually taken the time to learn a few phrases in Estonian. Just that could only work, of course, in Estonia, and things like that. If you learn a sentence in their language, it could be one of your normal jokes. We just change the punchline and learn Estonian, and they really appreciate it because they like this guy took the time to learn this whole sentence, which means you care. A lot of comics, they go up on stage and they just turn on the autopilot, and there's no connection. You can see it in their eyes. It's just on autopilot. You probably even know what city they're in.
I know some of the Swedish comedians has tried to go national or international.
Yeah.
And some of them, most of them, is failing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few been to England and stuff. Yeah.
Why do you think the problem is when you're going out? I don't mean that's what they have done wrong. I mean more you have been out a little and trying.
I think it depends on where they go. The ones who they've gone to England, most of them, I think it's the comedy culture in England. I know we're referring to a few who've been to England. In England, the problem is there's so many comics, it's ridiculous, and it's so hard to break through. Even if you have a unique, awesome style, which they've never seen before. They have all kinds of people trying to do weird things and things that aren't even called stand-up, I'd say. And it doesn't really impress them very much, even if it's really good and different. You gotta have some kind of lucky breakthrough in Edinburgh or something, and then a whole bunch of things have to fall in place. And unfortunately, British audiences are very aggressive and they're really quick to judge. And I don't think it's the problem with the ability of the Swedish comedians who've been there. It's the comedy culture there. British tend to be a little bit more, they're happy to see other people fail a little more easy. Every man for himself kind of attitude. I mean, if you've lived in England, you understand what I mean. It's not exactly the place to be. Which is why I chose Umeå.
But if we're looking at thinking and laughing at the same thing and so on.
Yeah, I think.
Most time, I mean.
Yeah.
When it's coming from England and that thing.
I think people like Fawlty Towers and
so I mean,
Monty Python and stuff. Yeah.
The same comedian thinking and like.
Yeah. It's just too many comedians in England. That's the problem. It's nothing to do with the ability of the Swedes. If they went to, I don't know, Australia or Canada or something, because in Canada, in the States especially, you have a problem with everyone has sort of the same style almost. Everyone sort of grew up watching the same American comics and they've all read the same books. So I think any Swede who has a really unique style, like Magnus Bettner's really nice, opinionated style, I think he'd do quite well over there or in Australia or something. Even the Danish guys, I think the guy who talks about the tuna fish can for 20 minutes, I think he would do amazing in the States because it'd be so different than everyone else. They're just so in your face, kind of, I was at the store and la la la, who cares you're at the store? Just, it's just feels like all the same. Anyway.
What do you think? What is your idea about it?
To be as good as possible, or
what's important to be a good stand-up comedian?
Oh, what is needed to be good?
Yes. And what do you think?
I think. Oops, shit.
Chance.
To be a good comedian, I think to listen to what everyone says. The most important thing when you start is to keep your time on stage. A lot of beginners don't realize that that's the most important thing. They think the most important thing is to be funny. But if they don't keep their time on stage, then they piss everyone else off and they hardly get booked again. And can take them 2 or 3 years to repair that damage. Just one night. going over their time just a few minutes. So eventually you get funny. It's like a sport. You get better. If you read the right books, there's a couple of books they should read, and then they sort of get the idea of how it goes. A lot of comics, they don't do the small things that can make a difference.
You have your arms double folded. Are you excited? Mr. Joe Eagan! Do you guys have by the way, do you guys have any friend or old relative who doesn't know how to turn off the capital letters on their text messaging? I have a friend, he's an American living in Sweden. He doesn't know how to turn on, he's a fucking idiot. I'm like, hey man, do you want to go check out that new Irish bar? He's like, yeah, that'd be great! Whoa, take it easy. Okay, where we're gonna meet at like 8, can you make it? He's like, yeah, I can make it, but I can't talk now because I'm at the library. Yeah, that joke is so good on so many levels. Thank you very much. But look at my old phone. This is a piece of shit, isn't it? Isn't it? That's what you think. That's what you think. All of you with your new iPhones. I fucking hate people with iPhones. You guys, do you have an iPhone charger? I lost an iPhone charger. No. I don't have an iPhone charger. I have a fucking life. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Fucking move this. I'm gonna walk around now. I have a life. Ooh, I gotta check my emails. I gotta log on to my Facebook and Foursquare and Twitter and fucking Instagram and ooh, look, I'm on the train, everyone. So fucking what? You know how long the battery is on this? 8 days. 8 fucking days. Oh, you have an iPhone charger? No, I don't have a fucking iPhone charger. People with iPhones, ooh, I wonder what the weather's like. Look out the fucking window on the train. That's what the weather's like. There you go. Talk to people. Yeah. Nostalgia, baby. This is so good. Oh, look, you can do anything. Oh, I can find things in the dark. Ooh, look at that. I can do anything. But you know what the best thing about having an old phone like this? When you get a new text message, it's just a little envelope on the screen. It's like a little Christmas present. It could be anything. All of you with your new phones, you already know who it is. Like, that's not exciting. It could be any good news. I love getting that little envelope. I'm like, ooh, who could it be? Maybe a single mom. Anyway. Sorry, that just came out. Anyway. Hopefully from Finland. They're very aggressive. Anyway. Finnish women are very aggressive. They have to be because all the Finnish men are too drunk by like 5 in the afternoon. They can't perform. They got to drag them home. So the best thing about having the text message is a little envelope. It's like a little Christmas present. I love that. It could be any good news. It could be, pay attention to all these words now in this text message. It could be friends having a poker night, a tournament that costs money, and they text you, and they write, pay attention now, they write, hey man, come on over. Somebody didn't show up, and you don't even have to pay the entry fee. But bring some snacks for the break. But hurry up because we started without you. Or guys, it could be a woman you really like. You really like her. And she finally texts you. She sends that little text message. You open the envelope. And you're like, yes. And she writes, hey, come on over. Somebody didn't show up. And you don't even have to pay the entry fee. But bring some snacks for the break. But hurry up, because I started without you. That's right, baby.
One thing I like to do is you give the host 3 things to say about you. so that the audience knows who you are even before you've said anything. You can just be funny right away. A lot of comics, especially in England, even professional ones, they're like, just say my name. And then the audience doesn't know anything about them. And they're like, oh, well, who are you? And they're trying to be funny right away, but they're like, who are you? It's like, my favorite analogy is the blind date analogy. Stand-up is like a blind date. The audience is your blind date. And it's good if the blind date knows a little bit about you before they meet you, so that there's a connection of some kind. They are not like, and a lot of, imagine a British comic, they just say my name, and they come out really aggressive and fast. They're like, hello everyone, I was at the store yesterday, and the audience is like, whoa, who are you, man? Like, who are you? And it's like as if he's on a blind date, and he's like, hey, do you want to have a salad? Let's look at the menu. Blah, blah, blah. And the blind date would be like, whoa, weirdo, this isn't going anywhere. But if they already know a little bit about you, there's not as, I think a lot of comics, they don't realize that you shouldn't have too much energy in the beginning, because people need to be comfortable with you first. It's like a blind date. If you're not looking at the menu, like, oh, let's get the salad. Trust. You and talk slowly. Let's get the salad. Looks good. Looks good.
You need to build up a little trust between the audience and yourself.
Yeah.
Before you go too fast and too much.
Yeah, and to show that you care as well. A lot of a good thing to do is if someone has done a comic before you has said something to someone in the audience that you could maybe use in a way. I don't mean steal what they said. I mean like you can reflect on something in the room. Like and then people are like, oh, they care because they've made a reflection on the room. So that just that little bit of care. They're like, okay, he's not going on autopilot with his 20 minutes. He actually cares. He wants to be here. And they don't realize it consciously, but subconsciously, there's the care. And you say, oh, it's good to be here in Berlin or Helsingborg or wherever.
Starting with those slowly.
And slowly, yeah, instead of hello, and then whoa. So it's little things.
What kind of jokes are you liking to do?
Unfortunately, I like a lot of weird jokes. And the thing is, you eventually, if you want to do it full time, you need to accept the style that you have on stage and then choose the material that suits that style. I have this sort of presentable, sort of hosty kind of nice guy style. And I'm quite tall, so I can't do too weird stuff because people will be like, why is the tall guy doing weird stuff? You know, so it's about finding your style and adapting your material to that.
What kind of style do you have?
I have like, a friend said to me, Joe, you're an insurance salesman style. I think it sums it up. I just do sort of nice, clever, nice guy and clever. I never swear, hardly. Because just sort of the nice guy style, you know. The clever stuff, like I don't really do like a lot of cheap sex jokes and things, you know. Might talk about my ex, you know, she's the mother of my son, you know. I usually start with that she's a MILF, a mother I like to forget, ha ha ha. So it usually gets a laugh, but not really more than that, I'd say. It takes about 6-7 years before a comic finds their voice, tone, and style, and who they want to be. So they experiment, a lot of experimenting before that. I'm sure in 7 years I'll be like, what was I thinking 7 years ago? But I think I've found it kind of now. Voice tone, how you pronounce words, it's very different. Makes a big difference to material and how you pronounce a word or a sentence. It's very interesting stuff.
Do you have a special subject that you think it's more funny to work with and do jokes around? Or?
Yeah, different countries. I like, because it's more out of a need to have material like that, because the clubs I run in Belgium and Holland, most of the crowd is people from all over the world. Americans, British, Romanian, Greece. And you need to have sort of jokes which are very generic. Maybe joke a little bit about a British, and then there's British people in the audience, a little bit of Americans. There's Americans in the audience. You can play with them a little bit about my Swedish ex, and things like that. How she got the house and all that kind of stuff. Like it's good to kick down a little on yourself in the beginning too, so that they realize, okay, he's human. He's not just a comedian who thinks he's awesome because he's on stage. Yeah, things like that. Yeah.
How do you think the stand-up comedian business will developing in the future?
I think, to be honest, if we look at what's happening in England and even Canada a little bit, it's kind of going downhill. Like there's less clubs. People who said no to 100-pound gigs maybe 5 years ago are saying yes to 50-pound gigs now. Like there's just much less money for much more comedians. Everyone thinks they can be big. So it's really a problem in England. I think that's going to ripple through the rest of the countries too. I don't think it'll affect Sweden and other countries that much, because it's already established. People at the top in Sweden and Belgium and Holland and stuff. I think that it won't be that bad in those countries, but England looks really bad. But in terms of the styles, I think that you have also two kinds of audiences. You have the people who Johan Glans or Magnus Bedner is doing a solo show, and they buy the ticket because they want to go see them. So I don't think it'll be a problem with people like that doing their solo shows and people wanting to go see them. But if the styles will merge again, or I would like to think that they would, because I think that the best style to have in the future is to not have these long, drawn-out bits with sort of ha-ha-has. And then you have like these really short, sort of cheaper jokes, ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha, like some kind of combination of that. Very hard to describe what I mean, but
it's difficult.
But I'm trying to do it, for example. Yeah.
Det här är jag. Jag är från Kanada. Och jag bor i Sverige. Svenskar. När de tänker på Kanada, vad tänker de då? Well, de tänker på bäver. De tänker på hur rolig och snäll vi är. Särskilt efter några drinkar. Man tänker, bra vi är på ishockey.
I got an email last week from a friend, and he wrote, Hey Joe, min sambo och jag, vi äntligen köpt tomten vi var ute efter. Santa Claus is for sale, okay. Roughly translated, that meant, Hey Joe, my chickie and I, we finally bought Santa Claus. We've been looking for that fucker everywhere. And then he wrote, vi ska bygga hus på tomten, men först måste tomten dra ner oss. Santa's got some kind of weird diarrhea disease or something going on there. That's fucking fantastic, yes. And I hit a rodeo, and you don't know where this is going, do you? And I called the police and they said, var det ett rådjur? Jag sa, nej, det är inte rå nu, det ligger i grillen nu. And it was all this white sour shitty stuff on my cornflakes. Och jag tänkte, det är okej. Mjölken har blivit dåligt, det är ingen fara. Tillbaka till Ica. Kan du säga det? Either I'm good or we kind of love alcohol. Okay. Back to Ica. Och igen. Jävla filmjölk. Jag tänkte, has all the milk in Sweden gone bad? Yes, evil bad cow. British people lose their temper an average of 4 times a week. And Swedish people lose their temper an average of once a month. So when something bad happens, Swedish people, they're just like, well, that's the way it is. And you have all this extra time. And what do you do with this extra time? You think of these amazing, efficient words like gift, which means poison and marriage. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. Marriage will kill you in the end. Swedish chicks will kill you in the end. And you're married to a Swedish chick for 20 years, and then the blåbärssoppa doesn't taste very good one day, and your wife has poisoned you, and this is called förgiftad. And then you're in your coma, and you wake up, and you're like, well, that's the way it is. And then she takes you for all your Postkodlotteriet money. Yes, you sir in the back. You play Postkodlotteriet, my white trash friend, yes. The problem with buying clothes at Dressman is that you look like you bought clothes at Dressman. Can't fool anyone. And then she takes you for all your money, and this is called avgift. And the verbs are fantastic. In English it's I am swimming, you are swimming, he is swimming, am, is, are, what the hell. But in Swedish it never doesn't change, it's beautiful. Jag simmar, du simmar, han hunkar, oh, shook his arm. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. And you Swedes, you have these amazing, efficient expressions like jävla motvind. Damn this wind against me, this is so efficient. If I want to say the same thing on my bike, it's like 48 words in English. Like, oh, I'm on my bike, I'm going 2 kilometers an hour, and I just want to go home and put a Billy's pizza in the microwave and watch some porn. What the fuck, I'm going to throw this bike in the lake? Ah! But in Swedish, it's just, jävla motvind.
It's, I think audiences are tired of this set up punchline, set up punchline, set up punchline. And they're also tired of the long bits. So you need to have some kind of different way of presenting a joke. Maybe even the bit after the punchline it can be funnier in a weird way. An example is, I think my favorite joke to tell right now is when I imagine what the movie would be like if E.T. landed in England, what that movie would be like. I have other examples of him landing in, first I make fun of Americans, how he landed in the States, and what are the odds that the States is only 6% of the World Service area, so he should have just landed in the ocean and drowned, like a 5-minute mini documentary. Then I imagine, well, what if he landed in Finland? It would just be a 3-hour dark drama in the woods with no dialogue. If he landed in Ireland, they just put instead of the candy, they put little pints of Guinness for him to follow and tell him, come on, little fucker, come down the pub. But then England, the England joke is sort of a great example of what I think the future sort of structure of a joke should be like, instead of this long bit kind of thing and the punch, punch, punch. So I say, E.T. landing in England, what would that be like? I think if E.T. landed in England, that movie would just be him getting some 16-year-old virgin pregnant. And usually that gets a big laugh because people are like, what? They don't expect it. But then at the end, I say, no, that movie could never happen because, of course, as we all know, there's no 16-year-old virgins left in England. And that gets a bigger laugh because it's also a reflection on British society, how there's a lot of teenage pregnancies, and it's, in general, the society on the down. So that's my favorite joke to tell. And it's a really good example of, I think, how the structure should be in the future. Well, I know a lot of comics have structures like that, but there should be more. The extra weird tag after.
So you have your sentence and you have a small laugh, and then you have the more, so you get a big.
Well, they think it's over after I say that.
So I mean, then you have a small laugh, and they think it's over, and
then it's a bigger one, yeah.
That's an interesting technique.
Yeah, but it's not like my technique. I'm sure there's lots of jokes that are like that. Yeah.
So many. That's.
Wow. Yeah, it's called the tag. It even has a name, but I think there should be more of that. To try and rewrite every joke so it'll be like that. I'm trying to think of another example.
Where do you find the jokes?
Just randomly. The ET one, I was just listening to there's a couple guys in an elevator years ago. They're like talking about how they don't like American movies just because they're so predictable. They are, and then they're talking about how aliens always land in the States. And then just when he said that, I said, oh, I can make this whole bit about that. My friend Sebastian was probably the best. Talking to him on the phone one time, and he was dating a PhD student biologist, and he thought it was so frustrating because she's so much more intelligent than him. And then I thought, well, maybe it'll still work out. Maybe you'll end up going home with her. And then on the phone he said, yeah. And then in the morning I can just think that she should have known better. And then I was like, what did you just say? That's amazing. That's hilarious. You should have known better. If you sleep with someone more intelligent than you just think the next morning, you should have known better. It's just random sometimes. But if you have a goal, like now I know kind of the style I want. I want to start with talking about me a little bit. I live in Sweden. I have a son with my ex. I got to have things about that because if it's personal, people want to know about you. A little bit about Americans because I'm Canadian. It's expected. And then a little bit about England. I like making fun of England for some reason, but I'm not against England. It's just fun to make fun of England. I don't know why. I mean, they ruled half the world for hundreds of years, and they don't have water pressure in their shower heads. I mean, this is a lost cause,
It's a fun country.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And then I think out of need, I do run these clubs in England and Belgium and Holland, and I do need a lot of material about different countries and things. So I do try and have long bits about different countries. For example, in different countries different words don't exist. Like in Germany, there's no such thing as late. Spain, no such thing as on time, and then I combine those together in a funny thing afterwards. A second favorite joke to tell. In Romania, there's no such thing as lost and found. It's just called lost, things like that. That's kind of clever and society reflective.
Joe, what is Canada like? And what do you think of when you think of Canada, everyone? You think of beavers, don't you? And you think of how peaceful and friendly we are. Especially after a few drinks. Now Americans, what do Americans know about Canada? They don't know anything, or the rest of the world for that matter. So when I think of Canada, I think of a big Eskimo toilet. Because we have Eskimos up there, and everything down there is just a little bit shittier. I'm just fucking with you. So how did I end up in Europe? I was an exchange student, and I could choose two places in the world only, Wales or Sweden. And I thought, Wales, what is Wales famous for? Anyone birds here? The only thing I could think of was these and these. And then I thought, what is Sweden famous for? And I can only think of these. But I must say, I've been in Estonia now for a few days, and Swedish girls have nothing on you guys. You guys are awesome. As much as I love sheep, it was a very tough decision. I chose Sweden. Estonian letter. How do you pronounce that perfectly? Yeah! Now, if you don't have any Estonian friends and you want to learn this perfectly, kidnap a Japanese guy. And you keep it in your cellar for a few days. And you buy a tape recorder and some sushi. And you go down in your cellar. And you press record. You show him the sushi and he goes, "Oh, sushi time."
Stand-up comedian, nothing else.
I think I didn't make it a conscious decision. It just sort of happened. I started doing that PowerPoint show at clubs, and then someone saw it and said, "Hey, can you perform at our company party?" And it went really well, and that was already 2008. So I thought, oh, this is good, and it's good money, so why not have some Google ads or ad on Blocket even I had it, and go for it. So a lot of focus on the company parties. It's a lot of fun as well. Getting paid to have fun. It's very rare, I think.
You use the normal stuff always, some of it, but not. You cannot do exactly the same thing every.
Yeah, company parties. I mean, you can do the same, unless it's the same company hiring you for their Christmas party 1 year later. You might want to change it a bit or something, but they usually don't hire the same comedian 2 years in a row. Anyone that I know of. And a lot of comics who do company parties, they have this sort of clean 20, 25-minute set. That it is easier, I guess they just go on autopilot, but it's much tougher because they don't have, it's just them. And usually the sound is bad, the lighting's bad, or the people don't care because they're there for free, or all the above. So they're really tough sometimes, company parties. So it's good because a lot of them say no to them, and then people ask me.
Do you like the challenge in this to get the audience to listen to you?
Not the challenge. I like the feeling of making them so happy. This is great. After a show that's gone well, then they're all really happy. I like memorizing their names. Maybe 4 or 5 people in the company, the boss, and then a few others. And then maybe you can even find out what their hobbies are, and then write a few materials with that. And they really can't believe that you took the time to do that. And then, which is why I like them to send me pictures of people working there. Usually get everyone at the company to send at least 3 vacation pictures, and then I use them not in a way that anyone would be offended, but I use them. I just find whoever looks most hungover, and they're the hangover joke. It's not that complicated. Someone who looks like they've had way too much coffee, they're the coffee joke. So then I have this sort of template at the end. Foolproof.
What is it that's to be one of the best in the stand-up business?
I don't think I'll ever be one of the best on stage, but I think...
Then you try. I mean, why is you trying, and what's his keep you going?
Well, I have a son. I have a son to support, and I want him to have the best upbringing he can have. So, if I can be the best at PowerPoint comedy that I can be, and it happens to suit company parties well, then I'm going to go for it. And it helps pay the bills. It's not full time though. Like I do still help companies with consulting English. I'm actually employed with a company in Lund, a certain percent, and I work with them on a big translation project. So by day I'm translating, and then by night, making people laugh. It's a nice mix. And then organizing the clubs.
Translator normally.
Pardon?
You work
day job, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I have freelance clients. I do just copywriting, or I do voice work, voiceovers for advertisements and things like that. Yeah, multi stuff. I think one day the goal is to be full-time, not comic performing, but do the company shows with the PowerPoint, and then run clubs as well. I really like organizing. For some reason,
very organized, I think. When you
need to
when I'm looking around at you
I'm doing
on the internet, everything is very organized.
7 clubs a month. Yeah, you need to be. So I have people on the ground in Brussels. I work with someone in Brussels. I work with someone in Utrecht. I work with someone in Amsterdam, and Google Docs helps a lot. Everything's on Google Docs.
Yes,
it's the best. You can do the work with 3 people if you have Google Docs, I think.
But
Oops, revealing my secrets.
You're interesting comedian in one way.
Yeah, most of them can't even tie their own shoelaces.
No, but I think the other...
Or reorganize their own gigs, to say that.
They cannot organize anything.
No.
That's one thing. And the other thing,
No.
the
agents can, though.
no, but what they want to do, it's interesting because the most comedians I have met the way now, they're good to talking and they're funny and so on and so on.
Shit.
Take your chance.
Is that going to affect... You just clip it out?
No, it's no problem.
Okay.
Painting a picture.
Oh yeah, I paint paintings as well.
Painting and stand-up comedian, I don't see really the connection.
Oh, I did that at a company party ages ago. They said they knew that I painted pictures, and they said, "Well, can you do after your show? Can you do some kind of competition where you paint a painting and someone wins it at the same time?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right." It was really weird.
I mean,
that was just once. I don't combine painting with stand-up ever.
No, but I mean, why are painting as a person? I mean,
That was just a hobby. It's relaxing.
okay.
I was doing it before stand-up. So I was doing exhibits on Konstgrundan during Easter and things. And I still do have an exhibit every September during gallery night in Malmo.
Yes, we have some page and fit it, I think, the picture of it.
I have a site where you can see my paintings, yeah.
What's the address?
joe.eagan.googlepages.com.
That's what's the difficult.
It's a free site. I don't have time to do a new one.
Do you have any link from your homepage to that page?
No. No, I don't. No. It's kind of, I don't see them that connected. I don't want stand-up clients to be confused by clicking on some art page that has nothing to do with hiring me for their company party. Maybe. That's how I think. I try and separate everything. A lot of people don't know that I just, translate during the day and stuff. They think I'm a full-time promoter or whatever.
I mean, translating and comedian, I can see that's the language and that's a connection. I mean, painting, I don't see the connection.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's just a hobby before. Yeah.
But this is funny.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, in the painting, I don't really see the connection.
I think it was just chance. I found my own style with painting and just got into it a lot. In 2004, 2006, I went through a period where I was painting a lot, and I was at Pandora Hobby one time, and they were selling these canvases that usually cost 50 or 60 crowns for 5 crowns each, so I bought all of them. So I have all these fucking canvases in my attic.
What are you doing in other end? If you're looking at this, I mean, you're running a lot of clubs in Copenhagen and Malmö and Lund, I think.
No, not Lund. I have one in Malmo, one in Copenhagen.
Yes.
And then I have Utrecht, Amsterdam, Eindhoven, and Brussels. And then, so that's like a tour. And then Luxembourg will start in September. And then another random city in Belgium you never heard of. And then the last show, the tour, is a good friend runs a club in Antwerp. And I just send my comedians on the tour to his club on the last night.
But I mean, you do this and you do translating and so on, and painting.
No, I haven't painted in years.
Okay.
But I still have them.
But I mean, how you relax? What are you doing to relax? And get? I mean, you can go into the wall or get crazy, or what do you do to relax from all this?
Well, Fridays I try and just do nothing, or yeah, pretty much. Maybe a little bit of work for freelance clients, or catch up on some translations, or I just try and do nothing on Fridays. So I have my sons often Saturdays and Sundays and stuff. So I think that helps. Sometimes, I'll just have a nap, or I don't know. I don't feel like that stressed out. But it's summertime now, so. But in the fall, when I have the tour going every month, and then it's Google Docs. It's just all Google. It's Google Docs. You can do the work of 3 people. Really, it's ridiculous.
What are you doing to relax? Something must you doing.
Sometimes.
Are you sitting in the sofa and do nothing?
No, about once a month, a few friends and I, we go to the casino and we put in 200 crowns each, and we'll like share all the winnings, you know. Or maybe play billiards or shuffleboard with friends, or I don't know.
Hanging around with your friends is important to relax.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
They don't ask you so much about.
Or I go on vacation. I completely forgot. My what I do to relax is I was booked for a tour in Hungary and Czech Republic and Slovakia about February 2012, and they messed up my flight on the way home. So because they messed up my flight, I had to stay in Budapest an extra 2 days and do nothing. They arranged the hotel and everything, and I did nothing for 2 days, and that was the most relaxing 2 days of my life, because Budapest is beautiful. It's affordable. It's clean. It's great. And I think I've been there about 8 times since then. So whenever I find sort of, like over New Year's, I went for 10 days. I just went, I rented this, I have this apartment that I rent. It's a good apartment, affordable, and I just do nothing for 10 days. I just wake up when I want to. I have a lot of friends there that I met through international groups and things. Just do nothing. I wouldn't go on any bus tours, I've done all that already. I just do nothing. It's great, you come away from everything. I think everyone has something like that they do. Whether they go to their summer stuga, a summer cottage, or where they go fishing or something. I go to Budapest and do nothing.
You should fly with this cheap.
I fly with Wizz Air or Ryanair, but I buy the front row seat.
Because every time that we see to fly for you, you must stay 2 days. And
No, it wasn't their fault. It was the guy who booked me for the show. He booked my...
A lot of times I don't fly when I should fly. So
No, right.
You should fly with us.
Yeah.
So you get the holidays automatic.
Ryanair. I heard something funny. Someone said that Ryanair is the safest airline in the world, and I was like, what? And he's like, it's an Irish guy who said this. So yeah, it's the safest airline in the world. Do you know why? Because the guy who owns Ryanair is Irish, and he's such a cheap bastard that he would never risk any plane crashing, that he'd have to pay all that. I think it's 100,000 euros per death or something. So he has the best mechanics, and those planes stay in the air, which makes sense because he's such a cheap bastard.
Yeah.
That could be a good bit on stage.
Yeah. We have another little thing here we're asking about. That's who do you want passing through this interview to the next person? You can choose.
Oh, I should recommend you to interview someone else.
Yes. Know somebody you are interested in to know more about, or an idol you have, or
you should
more about.
You should interview. There's an Irish guy living in Malmo, and he's a comic too. David Duff.
Too late.
You've already interviewed him?
Yes.
Oh, right. Then I think Isaac Jansson. Have you heard of him? Isaac Jansson is a Swedish comic living in Stockholm, and he's probably the most underrated comic in Sweden. I think he's technically the best comic in Sweden, and I think he's the best. He beats all those guys you've seen on Parlamentet, all of them. He's technically the best and most underrated and nicest guy you've ever met, and he deserves a lot more credit than he doesn't get. Like he's definitely the best comic in Sweden. I've seen a lot of comedy in different countries, and yeah, you should interview Isaac Jansson.
Do you have any question you want him to answer?
What he thinks of what I said. He knows that I think that. I'd like to see what he thinks of Swedish stand-up and where it's headed. And what he thinks of all the people who have much more credit than they deserve for their comedy. No names. There's a lot though. There's a lot. Just watch, turn on the TV. There are robots.
While you're a comedian or you stand up, you're talking about that's shit.
Yeah.
Your speech. You have some speech. I mean, you're not funny.
Yeah. I'll give you something very interesting that people watching can think about. This is a really good story. Björn Gustafsson, as everyone knows, is huge in Sweden. Melody Festival, and everyone loves him. So I met him randomly at an open mic in Malmo one time, and I started talking, and I said, "Yeah, I run a club in Copenhagen. It's tomorrow." And I said, "Oh, I'd like to come and do 5 minutes." So he came and did 5 minutes or 7 minutes at my club in Copenhagen. And I think it's probably the first time he's performed outside of Sweden. He did it in English, which was maybe difficult. I give him credit. But he's so used to being, every audience is loving him and knowing who he is in Sweden. And it's just so interesting how he completely bombed. Not one little laugh in 7 minutes. Nothing. So that's something to think about. You have one of the most famous in Sweden going to another country, just across the water. Not even a whisper from anyone. It was painful. Yeah.
And you must start building up this again.
Yeah.
As he has building up in Sweden.
Yeah. A better story is Russell Peters. He's huge, Canadian comic from Indian backgrounds, and he's really big. He's one of the. I think one year he was the one who earned the most money in the world for comedy. And he goes to Holland, and the Dutch are famous for not laughing unless it's really good. And there's like a documentary for Comedy Central or something. They're following him as he went around the world. And he comes out in this big auditorium in Holland with 600 people or whatever. And just silence. And the American producers are trying to get the Dutch, make them laugh, come on. And then they're just like, he's not funny. He just came out expecting everyone to know who he was, and she just died on his ass. It's a great story. So it's got to be humbleness and good material instead of famousness and arrogance.
We say thank you for the interview.
Thank you for having me. Great.
And we wish you good luck with your future, with your stand-up and so on.
Thank you very much. And you can find me on joestandup.com.
If you never want to miss the latest and newest upcoming video interviews on ChristianSchon.com, then immediately subscribe here and follow us in our different media channels on ChristianSchon.com.